when you feel like you don't belong in the room. Don't act like it's only me, but have you ever walked into a room full of executives or decision makers and thought, man, I don't belong here? You're sitting in a meeting trying to stay composed, but inside you're thinking, what if they find out that I don't know enough? What if I'm not really supposed to be here? That's imposter syndrome, and it doesn't just hit new professionals. It hits seasoned leaders, executives, even people who've already accomplished more than they've ever imagined. This episode is about that quiet voice that creeps in when you're trying to level up. That voice that says you're not ready, you're not qualified, you're not enough. We're going to talk about where that voice comes from, what triggers it, and how to quiet it. Because if you're in the room, there's a reason that you're there. Chapter 1. The first time it hit me. I remember the first big conference I ever spoke at, hundreds of healthcare executives in the audience. I was prepped, I knew my content, but 5 minutes before walking on that stage, that voice showed up. Who do you think you are? They've been doing this longer than you. You're going to mess things up. And for a second, I almost believed it. The crazy part, this wasn't when I was new. I had already led teams, delivered results, earned my stripes. But that's how imposter syndrome works. It doesn't care about your resume, it attacks your confidence. See, success doesn't erase self-doubt. Sometimes it amplifies it. The higher you climb, the more you start thinking, what if I'm a fluke? But when I walked out and started speaking, something clicked. I realized that nobody in that room had my exact story. Nobody could tell it the way that I could. And that's when it hit me. Imposter syndrome, it wasn't about not belonging. It was about forgetting the value that I had already brought. Chapter 2, why imposter syndrome shows up. Let's get real about where it comes from. Sometimes it's comparison. You scroll LinkedIn and you sit in a meeting and think everyone else has it figured out. They don't. They just hide it better. Sometimes it's conditioning. You grew up being told to stay humble, stay quiet, don't draw attention. Then one day you're supposed to own the room and it feels unnatural. And sometimes it's representation. When you don't see people who look like you, sound like you, where you come from in those spaces, it messes with your head. You start thinking presence is actually a mistake when it's actually progress. Imposter syndrome thrives in silence. It grows every time you downplay your wins, every time you let someone else's confidence convince you that yours doesn't count. The truth, everyone has moments of doubt, but people who keep rising are the ones who learn to act in spite of it. Chapter 3, how to quiet the voice. So what do you do when that voice gets loud? Revisit your receipts. Go back and remind yourself what you've accomplished, not the titles, the impact, the lives you changed, the projects you led, the storms you survived. That's evidence. Separate your nerves from pride. Feeling nervous? It doesn't mean you don't belong. It means you care. Even pros get butterflies before those big moments. Speak your story out loud. When you own your narrative, you take back the power. Share where you came from, what you've overcome, and why you're here. Authenticity, it kills imposter energy. Get around the right people, mentors, peers, communities that remind you of your worth. The wrong crowd will make you doubt yourself. The right crowd will remind you who you are. Reframe the room. Stop walking into spaces thinking you're lucky to be there. Start realizing that that room is lucky that you showed up. Every room you're in, you add something, your perspective, your grind, your story. That's value, that's presence. That's why you're there. Chapter 4, from insecure to intentional. Here's the message. Imposter syndrome never fully disappears. It evolves. At first, it tells you you're not good enough. Later, it tells you you're not as great as people think. But if you keep showing up, you start to realize it's not something to fear, it's something to master. Because imposter syndrome only means you're stretching beyond your comfort zone. You're doing something that matters. The key is shifting from insecure to intentional. You stop asking, do I belong here? And you start asking, what impact can I make while I'm here? Once you flip that mindset, you stop playing small and you start showing up with purpose. In closing, so don't act like it's only me. Every leader, no matter how seasoned, has had moments when they question if they belong. You're not crazy, you're not unqualified, you're just human. But here's the truth, you've already done the work, you've already earned the seat. Now it's time to use it. The next time that voice shows up, don't argue with it, overwork it. Let your actions, your preparation, and your presence speak for you. Drop a comment if you ever felt like an imposter in a room that you had fought hard to be in. Because I promise you, every leader watching this knows that feeling. You're not alone, you're just growing. Until next time.